Complexities turn to ban. Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Complexities turn to ban. Radiant team pick.
Elder Titan.
Complexities turn to pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Juggernaut. Earth Spirit.
Radiant team pick.
Lion.
Complexities turn to ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Complexities turn to ban.
This. And now we're good.
Check.
Okay.
All right.
All right, let's go. Yeah, that was
Coming on in 3, 2, 1. Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. Welcome in as our coverage here at BTS continues for the International 2016 America's Qualifiers. I'm going to continue to do that because everything is labeled US. Well, I mean, let's be honest, though. Most of the teams coming out of this that we expect to go deep are going to be United States-based. And we've got 2 of them coming up right now. Complexity Gaming taking on Void Boys. Void Boys took a def loss earlier, and that's something I'm pretty sure my co-caster would have never allowed to happen in his managerial role. Charlie Yang on the mic with me. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, buddy. How's it going? Yeah, I guess I've never gotten def loss before.
Never,
So,
not one time in your history with EG.
Not one time.
That's
not
my
with
boy.
EG. Not with Dignitas. Not with Cloud9. But you know, here we have it. You know, sometimes things happen. I don't want to put it on 747. Who knows? Maybe he had an emergency. Just glad he's in the game now.
Can't imagine you still would have allowed it to happen. Emergencies or not, I'm pretty sure you had a couple of emergencies in your day too, right?
A fair amount, actually. A fair amount. But we do have a draft in front of us. We have Elder Titan getting in the pool here. So Elder Titan Lion out of Void Boys and Juggernaut and Earth Spirit for coL. Nothing too out of the ordinary right now. I like the Earth Spirit pickup early for coL. It allows Z-Freak to, I think he's one of the better players on coL, and allows him to be active in the early game and really influence the laning stage and get coL off to the good early start that they need.
Right. Well, you know, coming into this, Complexity has been a bit underperforming, I think. If I'm not mistaken, last time I checked the standings, they're sitting kind of middle of the pack, top middle of the packish. They've dropped a game earlier. And now they're taking on a Void Boy squad that, as we mentioned, took the def loss. And it's still a team that, you know, they've got Snaking, a guy with whom you had a number of years of experience.
Hey, that's my son, man.
Yeah, it may as well be. He's got the same attitude, the same winning charm as you do too. Yeah. Nah, seriously though, Snaking good. The rest of Void Boys quite a talented team, but I would still say they're coming in as underdogs here. Do you think Complexity's skill level is high enough that they can just skill difference them and basically just go something standard? And you know, if you're Void Boys, do you think maybe you go for something a little cheesy, or do you believe they're on the same level? They can just go a true game of Dota and still take a win.
You know, that's odd. You usually don't see. You don't really associate Complexity with like skill differencing other teams to win. Usually when they win, it's through teamwork, it's through good strategy and acting as a unit to take down objectives. And in this case, I think it's going to be more of the same. How they, like, Complexity is going to 5-man and start mowing down towers. That's their MO. I don't think we'll see anything different here. And you know, Void Boys, they're not really lacking on too much individual themselves. Right. Snaking is, as I said in the cast earlier, he's a great player. He's a TI3 attendee, and during that time he was, I think, one of the more individually talented players in that tournament. He gets a lot of crap, but you know, his Angry Goblin persona aside, he actually is very good. Pat Soul is hailed as, you know, one of the best by Grand as one of the best players in North America. He is very talented himself. There's a reason that the Chinese include him. You know, he's friends with all the top tier Chinese players, and they're not friends with nobodies.
Well, the draft continues. We've seen a Tide Hunter added by Complexity Gaming. Slark rounds things out in the 4th position for Void Boys, and it's no secret this meta really revolving around teamfight. First blush, though, it would seem that Complexity does have a bit of an advantage there. They've got so much AoE, they've got a great frontliner in Juggernaut, and they've got a ton of control with Disruptor. Now, the Slark pickup, you know, whenever I see a Slark, especially coming into such an AoE-centric kind of an approach from Complexity, I see it as a wild card. It's a guy who's going to be able to get back and jump a Disruptor, a guy who's going to be able to punish an Earth Spirit who's trying to be aggressive early. You know, based on the first 4 and what we see thus far, who do you think is going to have the early advantage in terms of being able to get pickoffs and build a gold lead?
Well, just because of the Earth Spirit, I'd give the advantage to Complexity in the early game, just because he is more of an active early game support. He can help you win lanes, especially good against punishing an Invoker, depending on what Complexity sends up against him mid. But I wouldn't say so far that Complexity necessarily has a better teamfight lineup, just because Elder Titan, like with good stomps and good ults, can be a hero that just ruins the other team and brings somebody down incredibly quickly. That aura is super underrated.
Well, we're going to see what our final pick's going to be for Complexity. Invoker was the 5th pick from Void Boys, and, you know, I'll be the first to tell you, man, whenever it comes to the current meta, I've been watching from home, like most of our viewers, not quite so much in the caster's chair as I used to be. But, you know, this Invoker, whenever you are focusing on such a team fight-centric kind of an approach to Dota, do you think this is going to be a Quas Wex or a Quas Exhort?
I think this is probably going to be Exhort, just because you have the Beastmaster Lion Elder Titan set up for a lot of Sunstrikes.
Sure.
And I think because of the way Complexity is going to want to play around the Tidehunter ult, the Invoker can afford to play a little slower with the Exhort build-up.
Just about to jump in. It was a Timbersaw pickup. Timber, I was just talking about this with some of the guys back in production. Timbersaw is one of those heroes that's fun to watch, fun to play, and really fun to cast. Almost every game that involves a Timbersaw is going to be very fun. But yeah, when you look at Complexity's lineup, it is 100%, as you said, focused on team fight, focused on teamwork. You only really have one hero that lacks true AoE in the Juggernaut, and even aside from that, I mean, you can count Omni Slash into that mix a little bit. Whereas I feel like Void Boy's lineup, while certainly being team fight oriented as well, does, at least to me, feel like it has a lot less room for error. It feels like it's going to be quite a bit more unforgiving in terms of execution. If they make too many mistakes, you're going to get punished so hard by things like Ravage, Static Storm, etc. But as they move in the lane, we got to do the thing. Let's make our predictions,
All right,
Charlie.
predictions. First player to get 15 denies. I will say...
I'm going to say the Invoker.
I don't actually think it'll be an Invoker.
Really?
Yeah. It could be, but I'm gonna go with Chessie.
All right. I'm going to go Invoker. We'll see who's right. Last killed.
I will also go with Chessie.
Chessie on that too. Sure.
Player with the longest kill streak. All right, I'm going with the Timbersaw here.
All right, got to keep an eye on mid as there's actually some movement. Go with the Timbersaw. I'll jump on board with that. I think I can.
Time of first tower destruction.
Seconds to battle.
Timbersaw and
Say 5 to 8 minutes.
I think that's fair. I'm gonna go 8 to 11. All right, now there are my keys. So, standard rune shenanigans. We do see a bit of aggressive movement here out of Complexity. They got 2 on the other side of the river. They're gonna get eyes on Symbol of Peace, but he's immediately gonna duck back. The horn blows. And, yep, looks like it's going to be exactly what you would expect. 747 will pick up the bottom rune, top rune, snagged by Limp. So as the lanes take shape, let's take a look at who's handling who and how the laning phase is going to work out. It's going to be Symbol of Peace, as mentioned, playing on the Elder Titan. Invoker going to be played by 747, making his way back to mid now. Omega Poner going to be playing on our Lion down in the bottom lane. It'll be Slark joining him there, played by Patzel. And Snake King, of course, the king himself. The Beastmaster starts Iron Talon Tangos that's starting out in the jungle. On the side of Complexity, the favorite team will have Swindles playing on the Tidehunter. He's actually gun in the jungle as well. Timbersaw, played by Limp, he's going to be going up against 747 with a little bit of help from that Elder Titan. We can already see Z-Freak and Symbol trading a couple of right clicks. Looks like Z-Freak's going to get a little bit of an advantage there. Juggernaut farming up top. That's going to be Chessie, Earth Spirit, played by Z-Freak as we just saw. And the Disruptor, played by Hanskin. So now that we know what the lanes are going to look like, at least initially here, Charlie, give me a scouting report, man. How do you feel like this is going to play out for both sides?
Well, first off, I just want to say that for those that don't know, Symbol of Peace is actually Clairvoyance.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he would. I mean, this is his stand-in Smurf account, whatever. That guy's got a whole bunch of different alts. He used to coach Cloud9, had a few stints on various North American teams in the past. A long Reddit post at one point talking about the state of the game and his meta predictions. Pretty smart player himself. As far as the early game, it's really going to come down to how much Z-Freak can get done as a rotating Earth Spirit. But Clairvoyance is doing a pretty good job of keeping him in check and following and shadowing his movements here as they trade a few blows in the river right now.
10 seconds till the rune spawns. Looks like top will be picked up by the Disruptor from Complexity. Bottom rune contested. A lot of banging between these two melee heroes, and it will be a bounty rune picked up by Symbol of Peace. Let's take a look at our last hits and denies. I actually need to resort these. There we go. It is going to be 15 for Chessie up at top and now 15 for Slark down at bottom. So the carry is going pretty even. Mid, though, seems to be actually going the way of the Timbersaw. So he's already got 1 point in the reactive armor, 2 in the Whirling Death. And he's building up a slight lead. And so far as a skill build, it is going to be a Wex Exhort approach from 747.
Yeah, so he's definitely going for the Exhort just because he wants to be able to use that Sunstrike to set up kills, or to get kills on the setups. But it is very hard for an Invoker to punish a Timbersaw because there's no consistent magic burst damage to get through his all his HP, and you can't really harass down the Timbersaw through right clicks just because of reactive armor.
Right. We can see Snaking has largely been unimpeded here in the jungle. Just been going to work. He's already level 4.5. Brown boots up. Looks like he should have something else on the way to him now. And top, totally uncontested. Down on bottom, we have seen a bit of a rotation from Z-Freak. Looks like he's happy to soak up some XP here. And this is actually really good for him. He's already level 2.5 despite being so active. That largely comes from hanging around mid as much as he did. He should get a solid level 3 out of this.
Yeah, we usually see this out of complexity. This is something that they would do a lot, and then Swindle's made a slight departure in it and started feeding in the off lane in their game against FDL. But usually what happens is Swindle will just Iron Talon jungle, and then Z-Freak will try and soak EXP on the bottom lane when the enemy team tries to pressure the tower.
Speaking of pressuring towers, you got a dive from Hanskin and Chessie. There's going to be a glimpse back under the tier 1. No mana for Symbol of Peace, and that's going to be our first blood. It's actually going to be Hanskin that gets it with the Thunder Strike proc. 1-0. Complexity takes the lead.
Yeah, it's a good pickoff by Hanskin as they realize, hey, we're pushing the tower. A support is most likely going to rotate up here and try to get some levels for himself. So good anticipation by coL.
Now, of these two teams, Charlie, which do you think is going to be more likely to really break apart the laning phase? I mean, obviously, Complexity off to a good start. Not to say that Void Boys isn't feeling pretty good about their start, minus that death. But which of these teams do you think, if any, is going to be feeling under the gun in coming minutes to really try to make something happen, dive towers, collapse, smoke gank, etc.?
It'll definitely be coL just because they're the more experienced team. They also have an Earth Spirit.
Up bottom, Z-Freak able to boulder roll himself into the Roche pit. Actually, very close. That's a TP home. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it'll be coL, but most likely what we're gonna see happen is laning stage will go on. I think without too many surprises in the early game, just because both these teams are gonna want to get the requisite levels up on their supports, and then coL is gonna start. Once they hit the timing on all their ultimates, they're going to just start 5-manning towers with the threat of the Tidehunter Ravage.
They're going on 747. Don't have any detection. And that was kind of a silly... I don't even know if that was a dedicated gank attempt so much as scare him and try to force him back. Good amount of damage done, and it did force a reaction to TP in from Clairvoyance.
Yeah, just teams poking at each other right now. I think it's like... Right now, it's not the most active game just because the onus is on Z-Freak to do a lot of the rotations, but he hasn't been successful with trying to gank mid. This Timbersaw Earth Spirit isn't the greatest combination of heroes to try and kill an Invoker in the early game.
Why is that?
Just because
Very cheeky deny, by the way. Sorry to interrupt you, but looks like we are going to have a Megaponer caught out. He denied the bounty room, which was going to be picked up by coL. Unfortunately, he's going to give up a bit more than that bounty room was worth as he dies, making it 2-0. But I am interested to hear why is it that you believe those two heroes don't really work that well to gank an Invoker?
Well, there's not a lot of lockdown between those two heroes. And Timbersaw doesn't have any way to... He only has ways to deal damage, but he doesn't have a way to slow until he hits his level 6. So really you're relying on the Earth Spirit to control an Invoker for however much time a Timbersaw needs to burst him down.
Sure.
And Timbersaw usually is only better against bursting heroes or trying to get a kill in the mid lane against like melee heroes or something. Not too many trees for him to chain to. So you usually don't see Timbersaws getting like early kills on
Z-Freak's positioning down in this bottom lane has been on point. He has soaked up so much free XP and continuing to level up and get his stacks on. We can see a 3-stack now in the on the Dire side. I mean, a little surprised something hasn't happened at top quite yet. Looks like we missed our first player to 15 denies. It was Patzel.
Yeah, I figured it was going to be one of the safe laners.
Just 13 for the Invoker. I was close.
Yeah, I figured it was going to be one of the safe laners just because it was going to be one of them that try and pull back the wave against whichever hero comes to the offlane to soak EXP.
Sure. Well, things still maintaining relative passivity. 8 minutes in. All the towers are still standing. Might see another attempt here. I'm actually surprised he didn't engage there. I don't know if Hanskin didn't see him or what. Maybe just being scared of snaking. Yeah, there we go. There's going to be the kinetic field after the glimpse. Roar's going to be there, but the damage being done. And the Ravage there from Swindles. They're going to get one. Can you count the two? Now maybe. Nope, never mind. Thought he might have Gush. He already used it. They get 2 for nil. That's a 4 for nothing trade. And this top tier 1 is going to be dropping. So, oh, wow. Omega Punter just hanging around, gets caught up with by Swindles. Kinetic field is thrown down. He's got a Thunder Strike down as well. And that's just a free one. Absolutely no business staying there. Don't know if he anticipated help or what, but I guess he just forgot Tidehunter can Gush.
Yeah, it was a bit sloppy from him, and it's Swindle's finally showing off the Ravage there. They got to be really careful around that timing because Void Boys hasn't hit their levels, hasn't hit their timings yet.
Yep.
And when you're fighting into a Ravage, your team fight simply isn't good enough.
We see the Midas pickup from 747. Given the hole they're already beginning to find themselves in, how do you feel about the Midas pickup here? I mean, is it maybe a little risky, or you think it's just something that needs to be done?
No, it needs to be done just because he is an Exord Invoker. He wants to get those levels and he wants to get those items up. I mean, most Invokers just tend to go this anyways, just because he's such a level-dependent hero. He doesn't have the greatest ability to flash farm.
Yep.
I'm really surprised when I see Invokers actually just skip the Midas.
Well, Swindle's now going to work on this stack that Z-Freak has built for him. He is going with a mech-first approach. Does have his arc boots up already, so you can tell he's already in good shape so far as farm. In fact, right in the middle of the pack. He's almost on the same level of net worth as the Timbersaw, as a matter of fact. So, very impressive start from him. Up at top, looks like Void Boys wants to try to reverse their fortune so far. There is a Roar ready to go. Snake King and Clairvoyance ready to collapse on Chessie. Let's see how confident they are about it. There as we go. The spin, Roar's going to be there. They got to follow it. Sunstrike to follow it up. Still not enough damage. And here comes Hanskin. They may be able to catch one if they hurry. Looks like, yep, there it is. Glimpse, Static Storm in the kinetic field. Snake King trying to make it away. He will. So very quick reaction, very good decision making, gets him out of trouble. Nonetheless, a failed gank, a wasted smoke, and a lot of time down the drain. 10 minutes in, it's beginning to have that feeling that Void Boys has got to get a win on the board sometime soon. Otherwise, this game is going to start to feel a bit out of reach. 3,000 gold differential and about 1,500 going the way of complexity.
Yeah, what they really wanted to do was to be able to get Snake King a fast level 6, and then set up a lot of Sunstrike ganks with the Roar combination, with the Elder Titan combination, and maybe a Lion rotation. But that one fight top just put when Swindles got that Ravage off, just put Void Boys way too far behind.
Right.
And then going on a Juggernaut that has some pretty decent level self. It's not a high percentage kill.
He's got 2,200 gold in the bank, so his next big item more than halfway done. And Swindles, off of that stack, managed to complete his mechanism. So you're talking Arc Mech tied at 11 minutes and 20 seconds, and he's level 10.5. So level 2 Ravage is not that far off at all. I mean,
yeah, he's finally taking his own advice and not going to the off-lane to feed.
Nah, he started in the jungle, and it's really paid off for him, man. And he and Z-Freak have really done a great job of just not saying they controlled the map, because when you think map control, you think of like taking advantage of dark space and ganking and all that, and they've gotten their kills. I think it's more than just anytime there's been an unoccupied quarter of the map, there's been somebody there doing something useful, be it stacking ancients, be it just jungling, what have you. It's just been a very efficient first 12 minutes, and complexity ready to roll. Now that Swindles has full mana, Ravage is off cooldown, Mech is ready to roll, and it looks like mid could potentially be their target. We've got one looping around from the south. That's Hans going to make that 3 as he's joined by a couple of buddies. This is a very far forward position from 747. Swindles showing himself to begin with. I didn't see if they have any detection. They do not on these 3 heroes. Yeah, they're going after 747 with no detection.
No, they do have a sentry.
Oh, do they? I didn't see it. 747, gonna die anyway. Who has a sentry?
Huntsgift had a sentry, just placed one down by the tower.
Oh, there's a Ravage that got 3. Following it up, they're gonna pick up the Lion on the low ground. Snake King not faring any better up on the high ground. And that's going to be 8 for nil off a double kill for Limp. And the glimpse back on Paxel. He's caught the Static Storm. make it a triple kill, as Limp has absolutely taken this game over, and Complexity is in steamroll mode at this point.
Yeah, this is what happens when you're fighting the Tide Ravage and you don't have any sort of counter initiation or better team fight yourself. They ideally wanted some of their team fights to come from the Elder Titan, but he just doesn't. He wasn't given the space that obviously a 3-position player was, and so he's further behind. What Void Boys wanted to do this game was get a lot of scrappy team fights off, but pickoffs here and there. But you're playing against Complexity, the 5-man team, and usually doesn't work that well.
Yeah, I think this is the Complexity that many of their fans have been waiting to see. And, granted, it's against a team that not many are expecting to go super deep. But nonetheless, they have been stumbling some throughout these qualifiers. We've seen some sloppy play, we've seen some mistakes, we've seen some close calls even. And this is anything but, as they are utterly dominating this game and completely in control. So taking a look at the item development, Jesse has added a Claymore, so it will be a Battle Fury, no surprise there whatsoever. Swindles with an additional 1,700 gold in the bank, and let's see if they're going to find Snaking here. He's actually farming very aggressively right in front of the rest of coL. And yeah, Z-Freak now sees him, he gets roared, hexed immediately. No help coming, looks like they're just going to let it go. Not wanting to engage into a dark part of the map, instead Limp pulls back.
Yeah, it's not the pickoff that they might have wanted. It's a 4-position Earthspear, but at this point it puts Void Boys on the board, and I think they'll take it. They need to get off a lot more of those on key targets, like maybe the Timber Saw or the Juggernaut, but for those heroes they'll need at least 3 heroes.
Well, at the very least, it turns a bagel into a breadstick, am I right? 747. Glimpse back again. He'll be finished off. They can't keep losing their Invoker like this. I mean, he had a decent start. He was near the top 3 in terms of overall net worth. Now he's down in the middle of the pack. Still doing okay-ish. He's not completely out of it because of the Hand of Midas, but he's just got Midas drums and brown boots. I mean, he has nothing really to hang his hat on.
Yeah, I mean, the game is not going the way Void Boys wanted to. We expect to get a lot of Sunstrike pickoffs here and there. Like, that's, sort of how you want your game to go as an Exort Invoker, but Complexity just controlling the pace of the game and controlling the map so much better than Void Boys that Invoker doesn't have those opportunities.
We do see the Shadow Blade. Didn't see how quickly he got it, but the Shadow Blade is done on Patzel. We've yet to see him really get involved in much of anything, and this might be the time. I mean, fighting 5-on-5 against Complexity, given the lead they've generated so far, given the way they drafted with the Bloodstone up on the Timber Saw, Blink Dagger is done on Tide, so that's all set. Battle Fury now done on the Jug. Standard, kind of yard sale look to Z-Freak, but Tide. I didn't even see how he died up here. That's my bad.
He got 3-man ganked and then Sunstriked.
Got you.
By Shadowblade Slark. Yep. And that's, now that Patzel has his Shadowblade, we want to see him get a lot more active. And yep. If you're a Void Boy fan, this is good. This is what you want to see. 747 does pick up his boots of travel, so he's able to be more active on the map, farm out, safer lanes. And so you want to see the rest of Void Boys really group up and try and get these individual pickoffs on coL, not let them gain tempo and momentum with that 5-man Ravage. Yeah, I mean, especially, it's kind of the point I was getting to was, even for Hanskin, you've got the Glimmer Cape done. So, their items and teamfight preparedness is complete. At this point, if you're Void Boys, I think you need to really just focus on pickoffs and buying yourself a little bit of time. You do have the late game security belt of an Invoker and a Slark, 2 excellent late game heroes. Yeah, the kill score might look bad, but they're certainly not out of this game, and I like the fact that they're trying to control that dire jungle with those aggressive wards and the Beastmaster Hawk scouting it out. This is what they need to do. Don't play in your own jungle. That's where coL is going to try and fight you. You want to try and get those individual pickoffs on maybe like a Juggernaut farming stacks or something.
This will be a pick on Omega. Slark bailed. Patzel wanted no piece of that. And like you said, I mean, it's a pick and it sucks to lose a hero, but if all the heroes lose, now it's not that bad. He'll be back up in 30 seconds. Overall 5-position Lion. Not that big of a deal. 747 at top is being converged upon. He is just going to TP away, and we are going to have a glimpse back on Snaking as well. This is a pretty big get.
Yeah, that was really sloppy out of snaking. He saw that first TP and he should have like started running immediately, but he didn't run until the second piece TP started, and so Hanskin was able to get off that kinetic field for the vision and then glimpse him back. That was a pretty big pick off for coL, as it, you know, you punish the split pushing Beastmaster and you get that tower deny. Void Boys really wanted that. That would have been, you know, more momentum towards them, and if Snaking was able to get out successfully, then he forces a 3-man rotation and it costs coL gets nothing out of it. So. Right.
Well, coL on the verge of a Roshan. Looks like Chessie is going to bail out after doing half health worth of damage to the big guy. I'm actually surprised you didn't see a Sunstrike. They've been missing on the map for quite some time, unless there's a ward I'm missing. And yeah, now Liv's going to move in. He'll be the one to tank it. And we'll see Chessie now head his way back in as well. If Void Boys suspects this, do you think this is the right situation to challenge?
I feel like they should, but they're not in position to, and now it's really hard to challenge this with a Tidehunter Ravage and a Timbersaw Whirling Death in the pit. You're also fighting into Disruptor ults. It's really difficult, and they're not even in position to really stop this Roshan now.
Yep.
So they're just gonna let it go. And then what you're gonna see out of coL is they're gonna use the Aegis now. All their cooldowns are up, and they're going to try and take down either top and mid.
Bottom is naked if they want to go for a big win. Disruptor denies his tier 1 mid as well. And we'll see where they want to head. If you're Void Boys, I mean, we've kind of crafted it out a little bit. I mean, get picks, whatever. Now that you've given up an Aegis, now that you know Complexity is most likely not going to separate, at least not much, they're going to instead focus on getting as much out of this in a 5-man. What's the approach? Like, what are your #1 priorities over the next few minutes as you hopefully wait out this Aegis without losing too much?
Well, they did the correct thing there when Complexity was taking Roshan. Suzy 747 was up, split pushing top, put pressure on the other lanes that Complexity isn't in, and try and spread them thin. Like, push out the other lanes, make Complexity like TP back to base to have to defend, you know, one hero pushing a lane or something.
Right.
And you saw that out of top. So right now Void Boys really need to get their lanes pushed out and then keep track of where Complexity's 5-man is.
Well, they actually have split up a bit. 2 up top, 3 in middle. Sure, we'll see them rejoin soon. I actually really love what Void Boys is doing right now. They're going to go on Limp. Limp's a tough target to bring down. Let's see if they've got the damage. Finger of Death should be waiting. And they also have the Sunstrike. And that took a lot, but they do manage to get him. In the meantime, coL looks like they want to try to get a reprisal in, as they grouped up right on top of the rune. They didn't smoke or anything, but trying to catch them as they pull back. Patsoul would be a great target. They're going to get there just a little late, though. Clairvoyance looks... Oh, Patsoul actually is coming back under his tower now. And here we go. Z-Freak gets eyes on Clairvoyance, gets the Magnetize off, and gets a free kill. But the rest of Void Boys should have no problem making it back to safety.
Yeah, but you know, they just let the Elder Titan die, and they're still doing the correct thing here. 747 split pushing the bottom lane. You have Omega Pawner and Patsoul up top. You really just want to, you know, split up Void Boys. Let them have this tower here. It's a tier 2, whatever. You know, let it go. They're definitely not. I mean, they're definitely doing okay in this game.
Will be a free tier 2 for Complexity. And with that, their lead begins to dip in their favor once again. It actually still has not gotten that far out of hand. I mean, they're behind, but it's only about 5,000-6,000 behind at this point, which is a manageable deficit at 22 minutes. You just need to win. You need to find a win sometime soon, and you can't just lose a tier 3 for free, which is what it seems like is happening here. Let's see if Void Boys is going to have the goods and be able to initiate. Chessie caught with a Sunstrike. Good amount of damage, good follow, but now Omega Pawner immediately blown off the map. Still 2 minutes left on that. Earth Splitter off the mark. So pulling the trigger a little too soon on that. I don't know how they initiate now. They can drop a few things that are being dodged pretty easily by Complexity. With it seems like they emptied their gun 1 round at a time and not with any kind of focus fire. And now they're just going to lose racks.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's really hard to fight into a Tidehunter Ravage while the Juggernaut also has an Aegis. You don't have that big team fight ultimate or team fight control.
They do get Hanskin, and Snaking comes out with a roar and locks him down. It's not going to matter, though, as they end up getting the return kill, and they get 1 Rax. And Complexity, yeah, they're just going to play it super safe. Leave the ranged Rax up. They got the melee. They're happy with that. And now they'll pull back farm, push out their lanes, and look to tighten their stranglehold on this game.
Yeah, that was definitely a win for Complexity. You trade your Disruptor for a 3-position Beastmaster, and you got the melee racks with, you know, not too much damage to yourself. Your side lanes did get pushed out a lot, but not too much structural damage. You know, it could have been a better hold for Void Boys, but I think Clairvoyance messed up his initial like Astral Spirit Echo Stomp during the first like minute of that push.
It just seemed like their entire, I mean, I totally get it. I mean, that's what Complexity drafted for, was to have the kind of team fight you really just don't feel confident initiating into no matter what. But it still felt like everything just came out one at a time with no real goal in mind. You know, just Sunstrike and, you know, then a stun, and then everything's just kind of spread out. There was no real game plan, and Complexity quite happy to just let the damage roll off their backs and bang on buildings for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, this is Complexity's MO. You pick a lineup that 5-mans well. It's very methodical. You control the map, take an Aegis, you know, let the Juggernaut siege towers with a Tidehunter Ravage behind them. Very difficult to fight into. You hit a certain timing window that the other team just simply isn't ready for.
Up snaking. Spotted by Chessie. Chessie's picked up a Shadow Blade of his own, by the way. He's going to go and roar Hanskin. And now there's going to be an Omni Slash, but that actually bounces off a few extra things, so Chessie finally does come out of it. He is going to get a double kill, but not without a little bit of a scare there. The Necrobook minions actually eating quite a few of his Omni Slashes. Nonetheless, it's a double kill, and he continues to build his pile of gold. He's up to another 2,000 after having added the Shadow Blade just moments ago.
Yeah, I mean, he's so farmed right now. He can easily take that. You know, it's really unfortunate for Void Boys that they didn't get the kind of start or initiation that they wanted. If some things had gone their way, some lanes had gone better, this game would have been played at Void Boys tempo, and you'd see like a lot of Beastmaster roar into Sunstrike pickoffs. I want to say though that, you know, Snaking is trying to do what he can here with those roar pickoffs, but you know, at the end of the day, when Complexity is 5-man rolling down a lane, Beastmaster's not going to do that much.
Yeah, I mean, the roar in Sunstrike is certainly powerful, and we're seeing it do its job. I guess maybe the one bright glimmer of hope you have is Slark, aside from having added an Echo Saber, has also picked up his BKB. And maybe you can just get a miracle kind of performance out of Patzel.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Slark's one of those heroes, if you don't control him very well in a fight, he can just build up a huge amount of agility stacks and just start mowing down your heroes. Slark is a very good core against the Juggernaut, so it really depends on how well does coL control him in these fights.
4-man smoke. I think it's 4. Nope, make it 3. Look like they wanted to head to the... No, it is 4. Look like they wanted to head to the Radiant Jungle. Instead, they're going to double back into their own. Right by the boar. Looks like they're now going to wrap through the rune spot up near the Radiant side secret shop. Unfortunately for them, nobody's home. They'd have been much better off going into the jungle. But Complexity's still sticking together, and you know, easy to see their game plan though. Now they want to push the tier 2.
Yeah, they're just getting ready to take this last tower, and then they'll probably try and push out the rest of their lanes, and then set up for another Roshan attempt. Take that Aegis, and then just methodically go down another lane. They know right now that Void Boys can't really fight into them because there's only one BKB on their lineup. Still not enough to be able to counter the Tidehunter Ravage.
If they are happy to move on towards the racks at top, knowing they can push much faster. Chessie did complete his Silver Edge off of that initial Shadow Blade pickup. Tornadoes there, Chessie spins through it.
Yeah, now that Void Boys is set up, looks like Complexity doesn't want to take this fight. It's not really necessary. They don't need to push it right now. They can take it a lot slower, You saw in their game against
Well,
FDL.
it's Windles. Winter Cape is there. They survived. He's got Ravage if he wants to use it. BKB has been deployed. And now there's the Omni Slash doing decent damage. This is getting a little shaky for Void Boys. If Swindles wants to re-engage, he can. And there it is. Catches 4 with it. Jesse coming in from the side. And the cleave makes it a double kill. Complexity punishing Void Boys for getting a little too brave. That fight drug out. And instead of making the decision to pull back and take their win for what it was, they hung around way too long. And they're now going to finish off this Rax for sure. It's 3 are down. It could be 4, will be 4. And that's going to be at least 1, maybe 2. And with the Invoker down for 60 seconds, how long is he? Yeah, he doesn't have buyback. This is going to be 2 Racks.
Yeah, I understand why Void Boys tried to make that play, though. Complexity is on the back foot trying to get out, and you want to punish that, or else Complexity would have just pushed out the rest of the lanes and then methodically taken the Aegis, then taken the rest of your building. So you have to try and make a play there. You have to go for the win, not try and lose less.
Right. That's fair. It's a good way to put it.
And, you know, if they had managed to bring down the Tidehunter in that initial burst, they would have actually won that fight. It was really only Swindles' Ravage that turned that around for them after the Juggernaut had already used his ultimate and was being chased out.
There's so much to deal with. The Tide is so far ahead. He has his Greaves up. Kraken sure is handy dandy. And really, the big play there, I think, was the very fast reaction from Hanskin getting off the Glimmer Cape. Mitigated, and he actually stood right on top of him as well, so it mitigated the Sunstrike damage. So just really heads-up play from Hanskin and buying the time that Swindles needed to turn that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, something that I was going to say before is that in coL's game against FDL, they actually, like, messed up a bunch of high ground pushes. And so you're seeing them maybe take it a little slower here, watch their positioning more, don't want to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. Something that...
Oh, Omni Slash. Yep, 747 actually ran in the wrong direction. I think one of them was going to die, but certainly would have been better if Clairvoyance was the one. Limp not going to be able to catch him. I might be able to catch him, never mind. Guessed right on the pathing.
No, he should be dead here. There's no action. Oh, he does have his 4-staff up.
Lol. Well, he was deleted, and Complexity looks like they're ready to put a cherry on it as they're now heading down mid lane.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's much that Void Boys can do about this with that Invoker and that Elder Titan down with no buyback, and they're just going to call it.
So, Complexity showing why they are one of the most feared teams, not just in the Americas region, but at times in the world. And this is exactly what Complexity fans want to see out of them leading up to their shot at TI. Predictions-wise, looks like I missed it. You got it. Did you get it, actually? No, you missed it, too. Last player to be killed. We both got that, surprisingly. Player who gets the longest kill streak. It was actually Chessie, because he went bonkers in the late game. And then, of course, Tower Destruction.